Well, soap bubbles are a really unique thing. A lot of us have played around with them, but how do they actually work and why do they freeze so fancifully in the winter period? Well, the first thing to know about is that water itself is a molecule made out of hydrogen and oxygen. When those atoms of hydrogen and oxygen get together and make that water molecule, they form a particular structure, and that's the water molecule itself. Now, when the water is just by itself in a cup, there's something called surface tension. You can take a little paper clip and actually put it on top of the water and it will sit there. It won't actually sink into the water. And that's actually the water molecules themselves, the adjacent water molecules, attracting one another. Now, if you actually put some soap in there, what ends up happening is that surface tension disappears and that paper clip will actually sink down. And when you make a soapy solution, what you're doing is you're getting rid of the surface tension, but you're creating sort of a mixture of, again, the water with the soap. The soap film films on the outside and the water goes in between the layer of soap on the outside and one on the inside. Now, why does it take a bubble shape? Well, that's because of the surface area. When the water and the thing forms, the soapy solution forms, it always takes the lowest surface area, least energy, and that's actually a sphere or a circle. So basically you get a bubble. Now in the winter time, if you try blowing bubbles outside, what you'll end up happening is that those bubbles will freeze, especially if it's really, really cold. If you go out like at 0 degrees when it's, when you can actually have liquid water and water vapor and solid, you're not going to be so successful in maybe making those bubbles freeze. But if you go out in really, really cold temperatures like minus 20 degrees Celsius or colder, those bubbles will freeze rather quickly without the bubble popping. In that case, you'll actually see crystals forming. Those crystals will actually start to form all around. Sometimes they will start at the bottom or the cold surface and work their way up. And eventually the whole bubble becomes a gigantic ice crystal. And they'll last for a little while, and it's always fun to do these things in the winter months. And it has a little bit to do with science. A lot of people, when they try to make bubble solutions, will just take basically some water and some dish detergent and add a drop or a few drops of dish detergent into a small cup of water, stir it around, and try making a bubble. Now those bubbles won't last too long. You'll see those bubbles, but they fall apart rather quickly. They don't last long. So in order to actually create bubbles that last a lot longer, people will introduce things like glycerin or even corn syrup. What that does is it gives the bubble solution more strength. So when you blow your bubble, those things of glycerin or sugar help combine and make the structure and keep that structure longer. So if you want to have bubbles that last longer, there's actually the right kind of recipe where you get the right amount of water, glycerin or corn syrup, and of course the soap, and mix it all together and you might have a solution that actually works really well. Now, one thing you might want to try as an experiment is not all dish soaps work equally well, so try different ones. The dish soap I like using a lot is Dawn. Dawn seems to give really nice bubbles, whereas if you use other types of liquid detergents on the market, you may or may not be as successful.